Now, this next video is something that I haven't really talked about a lot. It's something that's theoretical, but it's also something that very much, as far as I can tell, exists, and that is the Akashic records. I've talked about it a little bit when I was talking about emotion control and how you can basically predict the next thing somebody's going to say based off of their emotional resignation. And I talked about it a little bit in my last video about how you can talk to other people based off of what you're saying in real life and based off of how you imagine they would react to you. But the Akashic records is something a little less subtle. It's something you can only really tap into once you get really good at predicting the future. So this is like a series of videos that I'm talking about right now. It's a series of you have to do this to get here, you have to do this to get here, and you have to do this to get here. Uh, the Akashic Records is this theoretical information that all humans can tap into to some degree, that depending on your ability to tap into them, you'll be better at like doing things like predicting the future. You'll be better at doing things like knowing what people are doing and how they think and stuff like that. And you'll the premise behind it is that you can basically imagine the future based off of how people act and how they're going to act in the future. And these records have really helped me in my life. I've been able to I've been able to go a lot farther in my life than I ever thought was possible. I've been able to tap into mysteries that would otherwise never be explained just because I'm so in tune with the Akashic records. I've been in tune with them since I was a little kid, and I've come across these scientific ideas that most people would never be able to be in tuned in, and it was all because of the way that I live my life. I live my life in such a way that I became able to tap into these Akashic records, right? I became able to tap into these different this deeper spectrum of reality based excuse me based off of how I had previously lived my life. Like, so I guess how I would describe the Akashic records is that it's basically based off of what I've seen. It's all of science, but not just all of science. It's all of how everybody thinks at different times. It's a lot of different things. It's like well, I explained it a little bit in my one of my previous videos, not my last video. I explained a lot about it in one of my previous videos where I was talking about if you can tap into these records, you can like learn things that you wouldn't be able to learn otherwise. If you tap into the fear spectrum of emotion, you can learn different things than if you tap into the happiness spectrum of emotion. It's just a matter of people have different thought patterns, and depending on your thought patterns, you're going to be able to look at things differently. Like if you're always in fear, you're going to see everything that's on the fear spectrum. For example, I feel like a lot of law is on the fear spectrum because it's basically you're making up ideas and you're making up these different things based off of your fear of what other people might do to you based off of experience or however you come up with these ideas. The fear of how somebody might kill you, for example. Somebody might kill you in your sleep, or somebody just might straight up just murder you. That's on the fear spectrum. You think about things like that, and you make up laws according to how you feel about somebody killing you. So, like, obviously, you feel like killing somebody is bad, so you're going to immediately make something illegal to kill somebody, right? That's the basic premise of the Akashic records. Is depending on where you are in the emotional state, you'll come up with different ideas, and depending on your emotional register, like I was talking in my last video about key signatures and stuff, you'll come up with different ideas than somebody to your left or your right. So that's the basics of how it works. I can easily get like go on with that for hours, but I'm just trying to explain it as simply as I can. Uh, because what you have to keep in mind is that people naturally don't have any control over their emotions. You can learn to control your emotions through practice and discipline and just like testing it out and learning how to do certain things. But most people don't know how to do this. And so they're going to be bound by quote unquote stone to do these actions if they never learn to control themselves. So that's just it's like it's kind of sad to say, but according to the emotional spectrum and according to how people do things, it's like you're bound by your emotions to only ever do so many different things, right? You're bound by your emotions to only complete these actions based off of the spectrum of what you can experience. There's like a finite level of things we can experience based off of this emotional connection to the world. And the better you learn to control it, the more freedom you'll have in being able to do different things compared to other things. But if you never learn to control them, you're basically stuck in a cycle of being controlled by your emotions, which is something else I might talk about today. But for right now, I'm just talking about the Akashic records. And based off of these Akashic records, you perform certain actions based off of certain emotions. It'll lead to certain results, right? Like you can understand all of how law works, basically just knowing what different people think about different things. And like if you're like in different countries and stuff, and like people have different reactions to different things, like maybe you have sex with a girl, right? And people are afraid that you're going to get her pregnant in your particular country, then that's going to be the result of what what goes on, you know. Like they're gonna dictate their laws based off of how they feel about this certain thing, right? Like there's a difference between people in America who have sex all the time and people in Muslim countries who have sex once and end up getting enslaved for it, or not enslaved, end up getting the death penalty for just having sex with the one girl one time because somebody caught them, right? Basically, it depends on who's running your country and their thought patterns towards these different emotions, because everybody has these different emotions, right? This is a little bit this is getting into the more predictive faculties of the emotional spectrum. And this is definitely a more advanced understanding of the emotional spectrum than anything I've talked about before, right? So, anyways, the Akashic records are these records of human thought and how you can like change your thought patterns based off of experiencing different emotional signatures and experiencing different emotions in these different emotional signatures, because everybody has an emotional signature, and it's definitely possible to change your emotional signature based on your emotional signature and the ways that you're thinking about things and your different emotions that you experience in these different emotional signatures, there's going to be different results, right? Like if somebody's like a fear-based, if somebody's like always experiencing fear and they experience these different things, their outcome is going to be different than other people. Like, for example, if somebody's always experiencing fear and they go through these different emotional states, their conclusion is going to be different than somebody who's always happy and experiences these different emotional states, right? They might be similar. There's like correlation between like somebody who's like fearful and like experiencing the happy spectrum, and there's also a difference between somebody who's happy and experiencing the fear spectrum. But if you come across like the 1 in 100 chance that these people are experiencing the same kinds of happy and the same kinds of fear at the same time, then they're going to come to the same conclusion, right? So that's how the Akashic records work, is basically depending on how you feel at a certain time and how you experience life at a certain time, depending on your emotional state, you're going to come to different conclusions than somebody who is experiencing life in different ways. That's the Akashic records. And if you can tap deep enough into this, if you can tap into this emotional paradigm, as it were, you can basically learn all knowledge, because different people at different times come up with different ideas. And if you can learn to tap into these different ideas at different times, you can learn to tap into these different ideas. That's the theory of everything, in a sense. But I'll get more into my theory of everything a little bit later. But that was what I wanted to talk about on this video. So, peace.